World-class fishing gear. Unmatched personal service. And trust me, if that weren't the case, I wouldn't be partnered with American Legacy Fishing. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fishing with Gramps, presented by American Legacy Fishing Company. My name is JT. If you're brand new to fishing or coming back to it after years and years away, or just looking for some tips, tricks, reviews, and how-to, welcome. You found the right spot. Today's an unboxing. Well, rather an untubing. I picked up 3 more rods as I'm gearing up for the 2022 Kayak Bass Fishing National Championship being held down at Kentucky Lake this coming October. Now, if this is your first time here, I try out a variety of rods, reels, various price points, and baits across the board. I'm partnered with American Legacy Fishing, Lew's, Strike King, Do It Molds, TRC Covers, and Monster Bass. But I don't limit myself to just gear from those folks. I tried a little bit of everything and kind of share my opinions, so maybe you can make an informed decision if you're brand new to all of this. We all know if you walk into Walmart, Bass Pro shops, or get online, there are thousands and thousands of things to choose from, well, to catch those little green and brown fish that we all love to chase. One of the things I try to do here is try to help you step through that process and make it a little easier. But as I said, today I'm adding to my personal collection, so let's take a look at what we got in the tube from American Legacy Fishing. The brand that's really caught my attention the last couple of years is Dobyns. It's a good middle of the line made by Gary Dobyns, former pro tournament angler. He got into the rod making business and hasn't looked back. I've actually been to the Dobyns headquarters down near Lake Fork, Texas. Took a tour with our good friend Bryce. I love the Dobyns brand. I love the fact that Gary supports military, veterans, first responders with a 30% discount. All you have to do is call Dobyns headquarters and they'll take care of you. But you can also find Dobyns at American Legacy Fishing, and they're on sale quite often. Now, when you get in one of these high quality tubes from American Legacy Fishing, you want to look for one of 2 things. Either a string coming out of one of the end caps, or a longer piece of tape like this one has from here to here, because that's where they tape the butt of the rods in the tube. Keeps the rods from shifting around in the tubes during shipping, potentially breaking those tips. I've already examined both ends, so I know what I was looking for. I have been looking forward to these rods coming in. And like I said, right here as I pull the butts out, you can see I can't pull it any farther because the tape is still right here holding this from shifting around inside the tube. So I will go ahead and break that tape and then pull these rods right on out of the tube. I've got 3 in here that I ordered. Now notice bubble wrap on this end, bubble wrap in the middle, and bubble wrap down here on this end. There's several different levels of the Dobyns that you can buy based on various price points. You have the $99 Maverick series. You have the $129 Dobyns Fury line, which is by far the most popular brand across all of Dobyns. You have the Caden series. You also have the Sierra series. The Caden is like a newer version of the Sierra. It's made with newer components, but there's so many fans of the Sierra series out there. Gary continued it. You have Gary Dobyns' favorite brand, the Champion series. That's around the $280 price point. And then you get up into the higher end stuff. I think it's the Extreme and then maybe the Ecstasy. So you have one that's in the $340 range, and then I think the top level is like a $500 range. And he built that because he said he had people actually asking him if he would build a $500 rod. So he did. He upgraded components and provided his customers with what they wanted. In this shipment, I have 3 rods that are kind of like from the middle tiers, if you will. I have well, I'll show you. We'll go tier by tier and talk about what the purpose for each rod is, because each one of these are designated for a specific technique. So we will start with the least expensive, and that's in the Caden series. Looks good. Let's go ahead and get this one out of the bag. This one is going to be a designated jerkbait rod. And one of the very cool things that Dobyns does that some brands do, but not a lot, if you're somewhat new or you're growing in experience and you're looking for technique-specific rods, if you go to Dobyns.com, he has all the different series, and then under each series, he has the list of rods. And next to that list of each different model of rod, he has what that rod was designated or built for. So for example, this is a Caden series. This is a $180 rod. This is designated for crankbaits and jerkbaits, and what I'm going to use it for is for jerkbaits. I have a rod that's very similar to this. It's a little longer. That is my designated crankbait rod. But this is a KD, stands for Caden, 6'10", 6 foot 10 inches long, 4CB. The 4 stands for the power, and the CB stands for crankbait. So this 6 foot 10 rod is going to be designated as my dedicated jerkbait rod. I got in the second box that I got from American Legacy Fishing, I got the reel that's going to match up with that, which is the Lew's KBD LFS. This is a 7:5 to 1 gear ratio. And I will throw 10 or 12 pound Cigar, Invisics, or Basics, depending on which I have the most of, with this combination. But I really like these Lew's KBD reels. It's around $139. If you're shopping on AmericanLegacy.com, Gramps 10 at checkout will save you 10% on most items in the store. But I love this combo. I actually have this exact same combo on my other Caden rod in a 6:3 to 1 gear ratio, and it is absolutely perfect. So I decided if I was going to designate one for jerkbaits, a technique that I feel I need to spend more time with, then this is going to be my designated jerkbait combo. And again, this is the Dobyns Caden. Next up in the line is a Dobyns Champion XP rod with, again, a very specific mission. Now I have a rod that's very similar. I had a rod that's very similar to this and sold it to my brother as a chatterbait / jackhammer rod. He has the Dobyns Champion XP 703C glass, which is a heavy action glass rod for throwing jackhammers and chatterbaits. Gary Dobyns is very specific when he designed a rod for throwing jackhammers and chatterbaits. The heavy is awesome when you're throwing in heavy grass, and pretty much the every chatterbait rod. They call it a heavy, but with the glass action, it's very parabolic to help you rip those chatterbaits and have a slow bend and pause so you don't pull it away from them too fast. This is the same thing. Since I've spent a year already with that 736CB glass before my brother bought it, I bought the medium heavy version of this rod series. Now I've tested out, and I've been testing out for the last few years, several different rods for throwing chatterbaits and jackhammers. And I figured I wanted to try one of the other ones from the Dobyns line so I can kind of, have a wide variety of different rods, because throwing a chatterbait or jackhammer is my absolute favorite way to catch fish these days. In the future, there's some few others I really want to test out, but for now, I wanted to get my hands on the other Dobyns that was designated for this because I really enjoy it. And for this one, I already have a reel set aside for this that I've been using for throwing jackhammers and chatterbaits. This is the new for 2021 Lew's BB1 Pro, and that's what I'm going to throw on this. One of my other favorite reels for throwing jackhammers and chatterbaits is the Daiwa Zillion that they came out with last year, the 21, and that's currently on the other rod, that IMX Pro that I'm testing. But this 735CB glass is going to get this new Lew's BB1 Pro, and that's what I'll be playing with and testing it out with. And last but not least, most expensive Dobyns rod that I've ever picked up. This one in the $340 range. This is a DX-703C. This is another medium heavy rod, and this is going to be my jig worm rod. Now, what am I going to compare this to? Well, one of the other rods that I have that I'm testing out is a G Loomis NRX Plus medium heavy Carolina rig rod. And I don't know why they call it Carolina rig rod, but the best thing that thing does is throws light jigs, football heads, and Texas rig. And that is an amazing rod. But at half the price, I really wanted to put this Dobyns Champion Extreme up against it to see how it performed. Again, if you're military, first responder, veteran, 30% off makes this a very affordable rod with really nice component. You see the cross weave that that you see in a lot of the popular rods today. Very nice. That is gorgeous. That is really slick. And to be fair, I am a bang for the buck kind of guy. I'm not the highest end. I'm not the lowest end when it comes to spending stuff on rods and reels. Again, I'm really kind of middle of the road. Sure, being partnered with American Legacy Fishing, I can have combinations that are crazy, insane in price in all the industry best components that you could put on a rod and reel. But again, I like middle of the road, and I like a warranty that I can walk into a store and not have to ship a rod off to get it repaired, even if I break it through my own carelessness. It gives me a comfort level. How many of us have broken a rod tip, shutting a car door, shutting a trunk? Last year, shutting a rod locker on the tip of one of my rods. One of our good friends fishing with Mitch had one of his rods laying on his deck after he caught a fish and didn't realize when he set the rod down that the tip of the rod got caught in the, I can't think of the name of it, on the boat where you tie your ropes to it. The tip got under that. He went to go pick the rod up to make another cast. Snap. Oh, my heart broke for him. But I don't have to worry about that. If I break this, $70 replacement fee. It might be a little bit more for this one, but not much. But I know the Champion XP and the Caden, it's like $70. That is a level of comfort you can have when you're spending a little more money on rods, knowing if you're careless and you break it, you can get it replaced fairly easy. What am I pairing this one up with? Well, since I plan to throw small jigs, Texas rigs, football heads, stuff that you kind of drag along the bottom or I pitch around, I bought yet another one of my favorite reels from last year, and that's the Lew's Pro SP skipping pitching reel. I love this thing for the fact that you only put 40 yards of line on it. I love that. If I get a backlash, cast it out, boom, right back to fishing. You don't have to worry about spending a ton of money, and I've said this over and over again with people who fill up their reels. They have to put in back filling of old monofilament or old braid, and then they put their braid or they put their fluorocarbon on it. I don't waste my time with that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
If you're one of those guys that changes line out every tournament, you only have to put 40 more yards on here. I love these Lew's Pro SP. One of the things they're doing later this fall is, right now, this one comes in an 8:3 to 1 gear ratio. They're actually bringing out a 7:5 to 1. I could see myself on any bait that I really just pitch, flip around. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Little bit of line. I'm not going to cast longer than 40 yards with my soft plastics or my jigs anyway. Works like a champ. And there it is, the DX-703 Dobyns Champion Extreme. Really look forward to putting this one through its paces and testing it out and compare it to some of those higher end rods and reels that I play with from American Legacy. So there it is, 3 more rods that I have here in the line. I've got a dock skipping rod that I'll throw most of my bigger jigs on. I've got a Caden that I use for a crankbait rod. I have another Champion XP medium heavy 7-foot that I use for spinner baits, throwing stupid tubes, Senkos. Pretty much it's my utility rod. And next up I'll probably pick up another rod for throwing drop shots, more finesse baits. Haven't quite decided which way I'm going to go there yet, but hey, we'll have to see where that happens in the future. Which combo did you like best? Drop me a comment down below. It's going to be a hard one for me to decide between the chatterbait rod and the jig rod, because jigs and chatterbaits are my two favorite ways to fish. Until next time, get outside when you can and make some memories. One cast at a time.